In 2005, film critic Roger Ebert once famously said, "Video games can never be art." Whether right or wrong, he may have missed the more important designation. With user-created content, player networks, and shared worlds, video games can in fact be culturally relevant and even generate cultures of their own. The first commercially available video games were a fixture of arcades. Video arcades had their roots in the amusement halls of the previous decades, where slot machines and pinball games were the big coin-operated draws. Gambling legislation removed slot machines from the amusement halls, but the pinball machines were extremely popular. The earliest game cabinets began to show up in the early 1970s with titles like the legendary Pong. But it wasn't until 1978, with the introduction of Space Invaders, that the golden age of arcades began. Overlooking some of the pioneering computer game development in previous decades, the beginning of the home video game industry can be traced to 1977, with the introduction of the Atari 2600, the first successfully and widely adopted home gaming system. One may have to agree with Roger Ebert's assessment when looking at these primitive games. Primitive indeed, as they can be compared to cave drawings compared to the types of games produced just a few short years later. In these early games, the social interaction was peripheral to the action on the screen. Very few games allowed direct player competition. Arcades in the Golden Age were still a very active social scene. Although the customer traffic was estimated to be as much as 80% male, arcades were still a good place for socializing for all people. New generations of personal computer games and home video game systems improved with exponential steps. As home video games first rivaled and then surpassed the quality of arcade games, the inevitable decline of arcades began. During this renaissance in home gaming, particularly PC gaming, a new level of interaction and connectivity began to organically develop cultural conventions that persist to this day. Quake was a huge PC game that offered online play that was actually playable, as improvements to internet connections such as cable and satellite made it possible for up to 32 players to battle simultaneously on the same server. Potential for large team-based clashes, organized groups began to form into what was known as clans, a concept that still continues today in multiplayer games. Clans would compete together both in professional competitions as well as on public servers, often employing a unique look to their avatars and clan tags accompanying their screen names. In situations where higher speed internet was not available, players took matters into their own hands and had what became known as LAN parties, or local area network parties, where participants packed up their personal computers and traveled to a central location, where players would connect via network cables. LAN parties were a unique combination of sharing both a digital reality and a physical reality simultaneously. Other types of games had lasting impact on the culture at large, most notably massively multiplayer online role-playing games, or MMORPGs. These games existed in what is known as persistent worlds, meaning that things continued to happen in the virtual world even when no user is logged in. Multiplayer interaction was an organic part of the game, as these large worlds were inhabited by sometimes thousands of users at the same time. The role-playing aspect and mostly anonymous aspect of players' accounts also allowed players to express their identity differently than in their real lives, including gender and sexuality. Early MMORPGs predated the use of voice chat, so communication was limited to in-game text chat. In these and other multiplayer games, a special type of text shorthand developed for convenience, originally referred to as leet-speak. Many common written slang abbreviations originated from this format. Some of the best known would be the term LOL for laugh out loud, and maybe you've heard someone refer to another as a noob, or have seen GTG used as good to go. With multiplayer games of all types exploding in popularity and improvements in graphics and networks, organized competitions became more common and ultimately led to the professional gaming as a reality in the form of esports. In 2021, esports revenues worldwide exceeded $1.2 billion, earning more than all of the NCAA sports revenues in the same year. With video games' mass appeal growing to rival all other entertainment mediums, yet another peripheral channel developed in the form of streaming via services like Twitch. Here, players can upload videos of themselves experiencing a game while commenting. And like YouTube creators, top Twitch streamers can earn millions of dollars a year, creating a whole new category of celebrities. What else will video games contribute to the culture at large in the future? With generations of users and creators who have grown up with this technology, and the overwhelming amount of shared information and content, the future of gaming and gamers will continue to surprise and defy prediction.